5-7 podcast. I'm your host, Mike Pre, and today I'm going to talk about the Typhoon in Japan, Ellen DeGeneres, the Joker movie, and Mac OS Catalina. I'm going to start adding a little tech into my podcast because, well, I've been doing tech for about 17 years. I've been an IT guy for 17 years. So I think I could add some value to everybody's lives on helping with some of your technology needs. Maybe you have some questions on how some tech works in your life. So, and I think that can be kind of fun because technology also, it intertwines with our everyday lives as well, which falls underneath the umbrella of awareness and being prepared because we all use technology. So here we go. I'm going to read an article from the CBS News website by Sophie Lewis on the Typhoon Hagibis, and there are also some really cool pictures that people took of it's like a violet sky, which is pretty rare that happens, but it's also a harbinger of what's to come. So I'll post them up in the video, and you'll see them. As people in Japan braced for a powerful typhoon Friday night, they looked up to see a strange phenomenon: a bright purple sky. Typhoon Hagibis brought heavy rain and strong winds to the region and is expected to be Japan's worst in 6 decades. The typhoon touched down southwest of Tokyo on Saturday. An earthquake shook the area shortly before landfall. As hundreds of thousands of people were ordered to evacuate, residents posted images of the bright purple and pink sky on social media. Beautiful sky in Japan before the typhoon. Looks peaceful, but it's actually an indicator that the storm is coming. Pray for Japan is the hashtag. It'd be kind of weird to see, like a purple and pink sky. I mean, sometimes on the, as a sunset, you could see like a lot of pink and blue and purple kind of blending in. But this definitely looks like a picture out of what has been, like maybe somebody curated the picture in a way. Pretty cool. The phenomenon has occurred several times in the U.S. Following major hurricanes. Meteorologists say the beautiful skies are a result of scattering. As sunlight shines down on the Earth, most of the colors of the spectrum are able to reach the surface uninterrupted. Meteorologist Lauren Rattenkrantz explained after Hurricane Michael in 2018. But the shorter wavelengths, blue and violet, are scattered in every direction. The light bounces from particle to particle until it eventually reaches our eyes. But the sky doesn't appear violet and blue because of our eyes' limitations. Under normal conditions, our eyes can only detect blue, but during a storm, purple can sometimes become visible. The light was scattered around the moisture in the air, causing the magical purple color, she said. But the storm is far from over. Now, we should all try to prepare for any eventualities that we can think of because, as Murphy's Law has it, what can happen will happen. And it's important for us to maybe just sit down every so once in a while or maybe have like a little notepad. And if you think of something, just write something in it. I mean, it could be anything. It could be, I usually keep two like thin blankets in my van because sometimes my kids get cold and it's better to have them there and need them and they're not there. And, we throw them on them in the wintertime and it helps, during the cold. I mean, I live in Chicago and it gets really cold over here. That's just an example. I like to use the spare tire analogy with cars because say, for instance, you have a flat tire, but your jack doesn't work. What's the use of having a flat tire if all of your tools don't work? It's important to make sure that everything works. The tire, the jack, having spare jumper cables, just in case you have an emergency. I mean, these are things that you need to take into account to make sure that everything works. And that goes in all aspects of life, depending on what you even carry. Like on your everyday carry. I carry a med kit. I carry a knife. I carry a spare magazine for my Glock 43. I carry pens. I carry a med kit. I carry a little whatchamacallit, a battery brick, so that if my phone runs out of power, I'm not near any power that I could use the battery brick for power. I also keep a spare charger in there. But I keep at least one of everything, just in case I need to go somewhere, I need to take off, or I need to run out the door. I can just grab my backpack and I'm covered if I need to be out for an extended period of time. But it's important to sit down and think of these things because, I mean, you never know what will happen. So that's something to take into consideration. Take into consideration the area of where you live. Do you live in the Pacific, Northwest? They get a lot of rain. So, maybe carry some carry rain gear in your backpack or something. Do you live on the West? Are there a lot of, are wildfires an issue for you? Do you have a place to go in case there is a wildfire? Do you live in Chicago in the north, or even Minnesota in the north, where it gets really, really cold? Do you have the appropriate type of cold weather clothing for the wintertime? Just because all the time I see people running outside in jackets that aren't suitable for long-term cold weather exposure. And you should prepare yourself for that eventuality instead of just saying, oh, I just need to make it here. Because what if it doesn't turn into that situation? These are just things to take into consideration, considering this typhoon happened in Japan, something to think about. Ellen DeGeneres was at the Dallas Cowboys game last week, and she was spotted sitting next to former President George W. Bush, and they were shown being very friendly, chatting, and they were talking a lot, and having a good time. And a lot of people had a problem with that because of, George W. Bush was considered a controversial president for the war in Iraq. And she made a statement on her show saying that, we should, accept people and we should all, kind of get along, type of thing, just because somebody doesn't believe in what she believes in, or somebody doesn't, align with who she is or what she believes in, doesn't mean that she can't be friendly, and doesn't mean that she can't be friends with a person. And you know what? I totally agree with this. And I told my wife, the liberals are going to absolutely blow this up. And normally when I talk about liberals, I mean like the far left, and that's it. So say we have a spectrum, okay? And I'm not sure how this is going to turn out here with what the left is. So for you guys, I think it's like right here. So say this is like the far left, okay? Or the left, liberals. This is like their area. Everybody else comes up from right here. So it's like they're like 25%, okay? Because I'll accept the fact that there are moderate Democrats. So, and I knew that they were gonna tear this up, because they talk about acceptance and they talk about championing for people that are different or have a different opinion or just different in general, but until you disagree with them and until it is not what their prerogative is, it's something different, and they won't agree with you and they don't accept you, and they're the exact opposite of what they are trying to preach. And it goes with this, because she's trying to say that just because this person isn't somebody that I typically agree with, or somebody that I believe in their policies, or that, had policies that were against her specific way of life, doesn't mean that she can't, be friendly with somebody or be friends with somebody, and I think that it's important to be friends with people that are not 100% down your lane of what you are thinking, because you may miss something. And if you're with a bunch of people that are drinking the same Kool-Aid, that's all that you're going to think about, and you're only going to have this narrow view. But if you surround yourself with people, I agree to an extent to keep yourself surrounded with like-minded people. That goes to a degree, though, because I think that we need to diversify ourselves and diversify our thoughts by keeping people around us that are that think differently, because maybe we'll see something that we hadn't seen before from somebody else's perspective. And so when it comes to this, I agree with her, 100%. It's cool to be cool with people that are that don't have your politics, or that don't go to your church, or are not fans of your favorite hockey team or basketball team. It's okay to be cool with people. It's not wrong. And I needed to put that out there because I think what she said she said a really good. She had a really good segment on her show, and I think that that it's important for people to accept that. And of course, there were celebrities that agreed with her and tweeted about it. And then Mark Ruffalo came out and he said his spiel, and then people started taking back their comments because these people are like sheep, and they'll comment on and they'll agree with whatever is the trend or whatever is that the majority of people look to be agree with, and whatever keeps people coming to see their movies. So that's garbage. I'm calling them out for that. I hope Mark Ruffalo hears this. Just concentrate on movies, dude, because I took exception to you could look up what he said, because he pretty much, to sum it up, he said that because what George W. Bush, how he said he murdered, with the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, that he's responsible for the murders of a lot of people, but if you really think about what president isn't, there hasn't been a sitting president that hasn't had to make decisions on whether people live or die, so everybody is responsible for that, especially his beloved President Barack Obama, because he falls under that too. So anyways, I'm done with it. I don't even want to go on it anymore because it makes me frustrated, and we don't need to worry about that anymore, especially like the liberals. So I'm moving on to the Joker movie, which also kind of lines up with this popular thinking type of narrative. Now, the Joker movie, with the reviews, they said that there was strong violence, and that the movie, I haven't seen it yet, that the movie would give a certain demographic of people inspiration to act out things that they have seen in the movie. Now, it is absolutely imperative that people understand one truth. And this is 100% factual. And it is that there is entertainment, and they're called movies, and they're pretend, and how they're made is by people that tell a narrative, and they pretend to be a character, and they make a pretend story. Unless it's a documentary, or they make movies based off of true events. I get that, but a majority of movies are pretend, and it is important for people to understand that it is pretend, and that these things are only made for entertainment purposes. When these things get taken out of context and people want to start acting them out, it is not the movie's fault. It is that individual's fault. And this is something this is a cup of Kool-Aid that everybody needs to drink, and they need to understand it, because this is a truth. Movies are pretend, and the people who play them, they play pretend. So why should you take what one of these people say to heart about an art that they do? Because it falls under art. Okay, just because you see a movie doesn't give you the right to go out and kill people, and it shouldn't inspire you to go and kill people. And if you're having these thoughts, you shouldn't be out seeing these type of movies. So you could throw it onto the other hand, say, hey, should we censor movies so that they don't make these type of movies? No, I don't think you should. I think that they should be free to make any kind of entertainment, or within reason, of movies or films, and leave it at that. Leave it as a film. Leave it as art for what it is, and that's it. Let's just leave it as movies, as it is. It's pretend. That's it. Moving on. Mac OS Catalina. Now, I am a Mac user. I also use Windows products as well, and I upgraded my Mac to Mac OS Catalina, and I have not had any issues with it so far. Actually, no, I take that back. I've had one issue. I use Open Broadcast software. It's OBS. It's a program that you could use, that I use to film the podcast on. and it's having issues with Catalina. Okay, some of the other known issues with it are, if you're a Mac user, if you're a Mac user, Mac Office 2011 is not working with Mac OS Catalina. And the reason behind that is because it is a 32-bit version of Office. And everyone uses Word. A lot of people use Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Outlook, and those programs are built on a different architecture than what Mac OS Catalina is built off of. It is built off of a 64-bit architecture. So these 32-bit programs don't work anymore on the 64-bit architecture, what the new OS is. So if you have these old programs and you're running the previous version of Mac OS Mojave, check to see if there are updates for those programs. I think if you're on Mac 2011, it's time to move on to Office 365 anyways, because they update it often. It's getting security patches all the time, and they add features to it all the time, and it works great. I use it, and it works absolutely fantastic. If you are using old software, maybe you should move on to something new. There's nothing wrong with moving on instead of using the same stuff all the time. If everybody wanted to use the same stuff all the time, we'd be on Windows XP forever using, old programs. And you can, argue that, yeah, sure, they work, but I'm all about moving on as technology moves on and having the new software, because it's fun to use, and it kind of sucks using the same thing all the time. So those are a couple bugs with it. The main bug or problem that people are having is that they have 32-bit programs that are not running on Mac OS Catalina, and they did not know that. So before you upgrade in any technology, it's important to see if that upgrade works with what you have now, and if it doesn't, are you willing to upgrade your other products or anything else that you're using, or try something new so that you can get on the latest and greatest. So that's what I got for you today, guys. I hope everybody enjoyed it. I will probably have an interview for the next one. I have to check my scheduling, but I should have another one coming for you soon. And if not, I've got another current event podcast for you. So take care of yourselves. I appreciate all of the support that I'm getting from everybody. Thank you for the messages on social media, and thank you for reaching out. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing this, and I appreciate everyone who listens. And I want you to know that I value your time, and that's why I put a lot of time into this to make it worthwhile for you. So once again, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. This is Pre out.